Okay, we'll start with this. We now know who former champion Sandy Ryan will be facing in her ring return. She will be facing unbeaten up-and-comer Jade Greersonen of the United Kingdom in a welterweight contest scheduled for 10 rounds. I wondered about that as well. At what weight would Sandy Ryan be returning? Because I see no reason for her to remain in the welterweight division, sporting a professional record of 7 wins with 3 losses, 1 draw, 3 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 11 professional bouts. The young Jade, who sports a professional record of 5 wins with no losses, 1 draw, 2 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 6 professional bouts. Based on that, this fight to me has the look of a little tick-over fight of sorts to get Sandy Ryan back in the winner's bracket. It being that Jade doesn't have as many fights as Sandy, doesn't have the same level of experience against the same level of opposition. Thus, there's no reason to believe she's on the same level as Sandy. Last in action in November of last year when she fought Vaida Maisokaite for the 2nd time and won a points decision. If you can believe this, that's the most familiar name on her CV. Last year was a particularly productive year for young Jade. She fought 4 times. Once in March, again in June, again in September, then again in November. Now she's fighting Sandy, who's coming off of 2 back-to-back losses to Michaela Mayer. This will be Sandy's 2nd fight this year. The first was the Mayer rematch back in March, which she lost. This fight will help her to get back in the winner's bracket, but what should she do after that? My feelings haven't changed. I think that after this fight, Sandy should abandon ship at 147 and get a head start on the other girls by moving up to 154, because that's where they're going to end up anyway. She should target a Mary Spencer fight. She can win that fight. She should target the winner of the upcoming Breakus versus Emma Kozin fight for not just 1, but 2 alphabet titles. She can win that fight. She should move up to 154 sooner rather than later, because if what you're doing is staying at 147 in the hopes that you can get a Lauren Price fight, you can get that same fight at 154. Eventually, Lauren is going to move up there, but you want it to be where when you guys fight, you're not just a challenger, you're a champion, and you can get a head start on her now. No. I could definitely see Sandy Ryan becoming a 2-weight world champion if she makes a decision to move up to 154 sooner than later. You've already been there and done that with Michaela 2 times. At this point, Michaela's targeting Lauren. Let them fight with each other. Let them kill each other. All the while, you rebuild yourself and add to your legacy at a new weight. Go to 154. If a couple of small fries, like Natasha Jonas, like Terry Harper, can win titles at junior middle, and they did, then Sandy Ryan can do a lot better than that, because Sandy is a lot bigger than they are. Naturally bigger. She may be even stronger as a junior middleweight because she's got the physical dimensions to really fill out. She's already a hard puncher. After the Jade Greersonen fight that I anticipate Sandy Ryan is going to win, there's no reason to keep campaigning as a welterweight. Move up. Men's lightweight news. Shakur Stevenson, reflecting on the Top Rank ESPN situation, he said, "It's crazy because Top Rank boxing on ESPN's TV viewership hasn't been the same since I've been gone. I damn near had an average of 1 million or more views every time I fought," which is true. And this ain't no shot at neither Top Rank or ESPN either. I'm just speaking the facts. He's right. Whenever Shakur Stevenson fought on that platform, on average, it did 1 million views or close to 1 million views. But it is short-sighted to look at what's happening on ESPN, that they seem to be withdrawing from boxing when that's not all they're withdrawing from. That's not all that ESPN is losing. They're losing UFC. They're losing F1 racing, Major League Baseball, and boxing. We've been all through this. That what's happening on ESPN has more to do with Americans cutting the cord nationwide, moving away from conventional cable packages and conventional cable channels in favor of streaming. Where before, ESPN as a platform used to get a piece of that action whenever somebody buys into a conventional cable package. Now, not as many people are doing that, so now ESPN doesn't have the same budget and the same money to play that they used to. That's what's going on. It's not as simple as relegating it to just a boxing situation or a boxing issue. Shakur Stevenson continued, respect to both companies, though I appreciate them also for everything they did for me, regardless of the trials and tribulations that came with it. It is sort of a changing of the guard, what's happening with these broadcast networks, these media platforms. I know that a lot of people are making the association between Top Rank and ESPN and what happened to PBC on Fox and PBC on Showtime, but it's not actually the same thing. It's a tenuous parallel to make it best, because where the PBC did a lot of box office fights on both Fox and Showtime, Top Rank didn't do that on ESPN. They went about their broadcast deals very differently. They went about business in different ways. I don't want to be long-winded, but I feel that Top Rank was a lot more responsible with their annual budget than the PBC was. The PBC inundated the market with box office fights that a lot of people didn't buy. As a result, you're not bringing the eyes to the Fox platform or the Showtime platform they're expecting you to, because you keep putting everything behind a paywall in pursuit of a few more dollars, which is not delivering the desired metrics to your broadcast partner. In the end, you costed yourself. How is that different from Top Rank? Top Rank didn't put most of their cards behind a paywall. Top Rank, through the entirety of their time on ESPN, they didn't do a bunch of pay-per-views. They weren't gouging the boxing fans, so that when things don't work out between them and ESPN, it's for different reasons. Hell, Bob even said he was going to keep as many fights off pay-per-view as possible, because he knew people don't buy pay-per-views as much as they used to. I don't know that there's a whole lot that Top Rank could have done to avoid this situation, because it's really not all on them. Boxing insider Rick Glacier said, "Who would have ever thought that Top Rank would have no TV or streaming deal in place and no boxing shows scheduled whatsoever, despite the fact that Top Rank approaches their 60th anniversary next March. Longevity means nothing in this era, as evidenced by the final demise of Radio Shack and Rite Aid." I literally said that just the other day. I'm starting to think that old Ricky watches the relay. Because I made those same associations, and it is true that longevity in and of itself in this era counts for very little, and what matters the most is know-how. Knowing how to navigate through this digital era and these changing times. It's my understanding Top Rank will not be doing any shows in the month of August, and they may not do any in the month of September. So it's going to be pretty dry for an American boxing fan interested in seeing American boxers. Schedule for what's supposed to happen on this side of the world throughout the month of August through September, it's not looking too hot. PBC's not doing nothing. Top Rank's not doing nothing. Golden Boy's just doing what they can, whatever they can, but they don't have the strength of stable to carry American boxing on their back. I noticed that both Matchroom and Queensberry announced a string of smaller shows they're going to be doing, smaller cards, with some emphasis on the British boxing scene. So don't look to them to fill the void. They're going to focus on what's going on across the pond. They're going to focus on the UK boxing scene, and they're right to do it. Especially Matchroom, that has been operating in the United States as of 2018, and by now they've got to know that the UK boxing scene, in spite of being a smaller area overall, it's got a bigger boxing base, a more receptive boxing landscape, a more fertile environment to do a fight than America. Even though it's smaller, a lot smaller. There's a lot that went wrong in the American boxing scene. It's not just any one thing. The one thing that almost immediately comes to mind with what's happening in America is operational costs. What it costs to do a fight based on fighters' purse demands. Because if so many fights ended up on pay-per-view, that has a lot to do with it. The fighters' purse demands. It's driving the cost of everything up because every fighter with 2 hands, 2 gloves, and a gum shield thinks they're box office, thinks they're big time. Here's an example. Ryan Garcia issued a $20 million ultimatum to his promoter, Oscar De La Hoya. Saying he won't fight unless he gets 20 mil? Ryan Garcia hit out at Oscar De La Hoya, who had called him while Ryan was partying, telling him not to call unless he could produce $20 million for a fight. Garcia has expressed his unhappiness with Golden Boy Promotions, indicating his intention to leave after his contract is up after his next fight. Garcia said he felt disrespected after receiving a poor offer for the Rolando Romero rematch. Garcia's stock, though, has dropped after that Romero loss. With De La Hoya uninterested in the Romero rematch, Oscar has said he would favor a fight with Teofimo Lopez as the pair continue to butt heads. So Ryan won't fight for anything less than 20 million. How many pay-per-views do you gotta sell to generate 20 million? Just a rough number, a raw number. Well, at approximately $80 a pop, you would have to sell about 250,000 pay-per-views just to generate the 20 million. That doesn't even mean all of that 20 million is going to go to Ryan. It's not. We'll come back to that. After the Romero fight, they gave me the worst offer that you can ever imagine. Then Oscar tried to take my rematch with Rolly and give it to Raul Curiel. Oscar has no trust or faith in me. Why would he? You lost to Rolly. Great fighters lose and they come back, rebuild, and get better. Look at all the times he lost and came back. Oscar doesn't respect me. I don't think he ever thought I was a good fighter. I have one more fight left with him, and that's it. I want to move on. Well, you're the one that's making it hard to move on. If you're saying that you won't fight for anything less than 20 mil, this could take a while. Ryan Garcia picked up 20 million for the first Rolly Romero fight, which was put up by the Saudis. However, Ryan is unlikely to get that figure again based on his performance. He was dropped by Romero, as Ryan was gun-shy for most of the fight. It was a stark contrast to his performance against Devin Haney, where Ryan dropped his man 3 times, only for the win to get overturned once Garcia tested positive for Osterin. Now, Ryan has set out his position very clearly. The following clip shows Ryan Garcia getting frustrated with De La Hoya, who had called him, with Ryan naming his price for any future fight. Don't ever hit me up unless you have a $20 million deal for me. Okay, Oscar? Don't ever call me unless you have a $20 million fight. Do you understand? Get off my fucking phone, Oscar. Don't call me unless you've got a $20 million deal. Oscar De La Hoya just called me, Garcia said. And here's the thing. Let's go back to those rough numbers, those raw numbers. Just to generate $20 million at an $80 price point, you've got to sell 250,000 pay-per-views. That's just to generate 20 million. That doesn't mean you get to keep all of it. And if you're supposed to be giving Ryan Garcia, who lost the Rolly Romero fight, 20 million, what are you going to give Rolly? What's he going to want? And how much more is that going to drive up the operational costs of this show? 25 million? 30 million? 40? Between what you have to pay the 2 guys in the main event and the undercard fighters, as well as the operational costs of the show, who's going to be shooting it, as well as promotion. At the end of the day, how much is putting this together going to cost you? Because here's the kicker. Here's the joke. That was never a big fight to begin with. How do I know? Well, it didn't do big numbers the first time. People bought that pay-per-view. They didn't know it was going to be like that. They didn't know that Ryan was going to stink out the joint or that the fights would be boring. They don't find that out until afterwards. So they are even less likely to pay for a fight like that now, to pay for the rematch. But to begin with, not that many people paid. The Times Square show, in spite of all the headliners that were in it, did not do astronomical numbers. And even worse, that whatever Ryan got for that show, that wasn't market value.
You got what you got because Turkey was willing to overpay you in excess of market value. But now that you're back out there in the market,
now whatever you get is going to be based on what the fight is worth. And the fight was never actually worth that much. So if you're not going to fight until Oscar comes at you with a $20 million fight, you might be out for a while. You want to leave Golden Boy Promotions, you're making it harder to do that with this demand.
you say that you only owe them one more fight. There's only one more fight left on the deal, but you're the one dragging this out. I don't even know that a Teofimo Lopez fight is all that big.
Think about it.
What would Ryan Garcia versus Teofimo Lopez do at the box office? What do you think? 250, 300,000, 400 if they're lucky, because people don't buy pay-per-views as much as they used to. And just to generate 20 million, you've got to sell a minimum of 250,000.
You can't make those numbers work, even with the gate. Even if you do a decent gate, you're gonna come up short on pay-per-view because everybody's coming up short on pay-per-view. So when the operational costs are this high, even doing fights is far too risky.
Maybe that's too much numbers for too many people. You start talking math and it's like you're speaking Chinese to some guys. So let me simplify it even further. Here you have a guy.
He lost his last fight. A fight that he was widely favored to win. What was intended to be a layup for him, an easy one, he lost. Now he's expecting you to lose your ass to get him the same money that he got before for the fight that he just lost.
Do you understand that? You didn't hold up your end of the bargain. You lost. After you lost, you said you didn't even bother to train for the guy.
You understand that? Turkey LL Sheik guarantees you $20 million for a layup fight, and you didn't even bother to train. And now you're expecting Oscar to put up that same kind of money?
And you didn't bother to train, and you lost.
Big part of the problem, prima donna fighters and their princess demands, their inflated purse demands that make doing boxing matches in this country too difficult to do, too difficult to make money on. It's not a sustainable business.
If what stands between you and free agency is one more fight on Golden Boy, you shouldn't make it harder for them to get it done. You should make it easier. Fight some nobody. Maybe you take a haircut on the money because afterwards, you'll be free.
And isn't that what you want? To be free of Oscar De La Hoya, to be free of Golden Boy Promotions, to be able to go your own way and do your own thing.
You're only one fight away, but you're making that one fight very difficult to do because 20 mil to you for a Rolly rematch, it's not like the outcome was controversial to where the second fight might be bigger than the first. The outcome wasn't controversial. The fight was lopsided. You didn't do anything.
There's nothing about that fight that appeals to the consumer to want to buy it again.
But that's how the fighters are. They want what they want, irrespective of how nonsensical it is, how ridiculous. You lost your last fight, now you're expecting to get the same money.
Turkey's not paying for it this time. And based on how you performed, I'm not sure that he'd invite you back to any Riyadh season or Ring Magazine events because you didn't deliver. You didn't perform. Paid you a lot of money, and you thank him by not training and not performing and not winning.